I reached Birchlow as if I had outrun the heat, but I had not outrun it. It rode behind me all the way. The town lay on the land like a thin scar. The blacktop ran from a grain elevator past a rusted spur of rail and on towards a mile of hardwoods where no axe had sounded for a long generation. A figure on the courthouse steps drew itself into a man as I approached. It was the sheriff. He held a paper cup of coffee that I had not asked for. He wore the expression of someone who had reached the end of his own reckoning and found there was nothing left to count. "Are you Wren?" "I am," I said. "Lyle Carter," he said. "I'm the sheriff. I've lived here all my life, and that is not a recommendation. We have 6 missing now." He studied the shine on the coffee as if he expected a face to rise from it. "Will you come inside?" The courthouse air was old. It smelled like damp paper gone to dirt, like pencil shavings and chalk dust. You know the smell. It's the smell of sorrows recorded and shelved. Files were piled along the desks in small gray cliffs. He set the coffee down on a blotter that looked like it had been marked with a dull pencil until it looked like the map of an unfamiliar country. Near his elbow lay a list of names. Some had been struck through with a heavy line. "Did you cross out those names because you found them?" I asked. He did not lift his eyes from the paper. "No," he said. "That is a different list." He flipped the page over and let it lay face down as if it might watch him otherwise. "All right," I said. He slid a folder toward me across the wood. A photograph slipped out of it and fan-shaped across the desk like a losing hand. 12, 10, 9, 8. They were small faces. Ears that had not settled on their heads yet. Teeth too big for their mouths. Each one was the center of a world for somebody else. "When did they vanish?" I said. "They each disappeared on different nights over the last 2 weeks," he said. He pressed his fingers into the bridge of his nose, as if a memory might come out if he did not hold it in. "There's no single time that repeats. It is always after dark. The older ones put the little ones to bed, according to the parents. The young ones climb back out of their beds. The doors are locked. The windows are locked. Except when they're not locked. Except when everyone talks and then everyone feels like a liar." "Did you put out an alert?" "We sent alerts statewide and regional," he said. "We sent Amber Alerts. We use dogs. We use planes. Half the county's out with flashlights every night, working grid lines. The kids vanish as if the ground decides it's finished holding them up." "Did any of them have phones?" "2 of them did. Both went dead at the north edge, past the last houses and before the trees." "The woods," I said. "They call that edge the break," he said. "What do you mean, the break?" "That's the name," he said. "Kids go there when they want to be invisible. Teenagers go to kiss and drink. There's nothing out there but mosquitoes and old stone. We did find one meth lab 5 years ago. Seen nothing like it since. There are no signs. There's nothing you can put your hand on." He took one more sheet from a teetering stack and held it for a long moment before he laid it between us, face down, like a pale, flat threat. "What is that?" "You told me to be honest," he said. "I'm gonna be honest. People have been calling in with sightings." "What have they seen?" I asked. "They think they've seen the kids," he said, and his voice sounded like something far away at the bottom of a well. "They see them in town late at night. They're running." "Where are they running?" I asked. "West," he said. "They run west." Every time. He turned the paper over. It was a print from a doorbell camera. 6 children passed a porch in a blur. Their arms were not pumping. They were locked straight behind them. Their chest pitched forward as if a wire had taken them by the ribs and pulled. Their mouths were open. Their eyes were dull. At the back, a boy's leg was dark from knee to ankle. His sock had turned black. He did not seem to know about the blood. "Do you have that clip?" I said. "We do," he said. "A neighbor posted it on a neighborhood watch page. We pulled it down." He gave me the memory stick with the file. He gave me the coffee that had gone cold. I took both and walked out into the growing heat. I spoke with the mothers and fathers and the people who had once been their friends and now could not look at them without crying. I listened to a school teacher and a gas station clerk. People held my sleeve with both hands and they would not let go. I let them. In the past, I have not always let them. A woman named Lydia Monroe stood in her kitchen, twisting a damp dish towel. She had the towel pressed to her mouth, as if she could force her screams back down. Her son's name was Eli. He was 10 years old. He should have been riding a bicycle and learning the small crimes you commit to test the world. He should not have been learning this. "He didn't run away," she said. Her voice was hard and flat. "Please don't ask me that. Please don't insult us." "I'm not here to insult you," I said. "Would you tell me again how it happened?" "He ate dinner," she said. "He watched a clip of something silly. His sister told him good night, and he told her good night. I checked him at 9. His hair was stuck to his forehead. I thought he was asleep. At 10, the cat meowed at the back door. I went to let it in. The latch was slid back, and only I touched that latch." She held up the towel, and the towel muffled her speech into a low, hopeless sound. "He didn't take his shoes." "What was in his pockets?" I asked. "Nothing was in his pockets," she said. "He doesn't like pockets. They say they make his shorts heavy." I stood in Eli's room. It looked like a museum of a life interrupted. There were baseball caps on a hook. There were colored bricks still waiting to be knocked over. A single shoe lay on its side, as if it had been tripped. The window screen was screwed tight. I checked the screws. They were seated clean. I took some cold solace in that because it gave me one small thing that still obeyed a rule. By sundown, the motel bedspread had become my map of the world. It was a cheap atlas scored with a grease pencil. The lines all ran one way. They ran west. My laptop played the camera clips on a loop. I watched the gray ghosts run their route over and over. My finger traced the lines I'd drawn, and they left the town and entered the block of shadow that marked the trees. At 10:18 by the car clock, I put on my jacket and I drove. I moved slow through Birchlow. The town folded itself up. Porch lights snapped off. A bug zapper crackled in the dark like a little gallows. I drove down the street from the video because I wanted to see the light fall in the same pattern. Behind a chain-link fence, 2 hounds stood rigid. They did not bark. I killed the engine and sat listening. The quiet was wrong for summer. The crickets had fallen still as if a hawk's shadow had passed. And then I heard it. At first I thought it was the wind in my own head, but the leaves hung motionless. The sound came from the west. It was a hum at the edge of hearing, a fine thread drawn taut. They did not so much appear as resolve out of the dark. It was as if the world had only just been printed, and the ink of their bodies had not dried. There were 6 children moving together in the center of the road. Their arms were thrown back, their heads tilted forward. The slap of their bare feet on the pavement made a wet sound that traveled up my jaw and into my teeth. The boy with the bloodied leg left a dark line along the pavement, like a pen that leaked. I stepped out and raised my hand. "Please, stop," I said. "Stop. I need you to stop." The lead child slid past me as if I had been a rock in a shallow river. The second brushed my coat. His shoulder held a cold that did not belong to the night. I took the third by the arm. She was a girl. Her eyes met mine for a brief second. They looked gray and filmed, as if from sleep. Her pupils were wide. They did not answer the light. For an instant, I thought I saw the tree line reflected in them and upside down. Her arm gave a single dry twitch and then went slack. She let her weight go as only a child can, and my grip slipped. She ran. "Jesus Christ," I said aloud to the empty air. The bleeding boy limped, but the limp did not slow him. The line of his blood unspooled from somewhere inside him. I got in the car and let it roll beside them. I kept the window down. I spoke as you speak to a feral animal you want to tame. "All right," I said. "Listen to me. Where are you going? Eli, if that is you, I want you to answer me." The bleeding boy turned his head a fraction. He opened his mouth. His lips did not form a word. A whisper came out of him that was dry and old. "We are almost there," he said. "Almost where?" I said. He turned his head forward again. They all did. They moved like a single thought that ran through them, all from another place. I nosed the car into the street ahead of them and idled. They broke left without hesitation. They flowed onto the sidewalk and around the car and back to the road. Their hands were turned outward at their backs. The hum grew louder, as if it were pleased to be known. I followed behind them. They passed the last lit house and the last pretense of town and entered the corridor of trees. The road turned to gravel, and then gave up being a road at all. The woods pressed down hard. The weight came from the ground itself. I stopped the car. I watched them go into the black. "This is bad," I said to the empty cab. I said it again. I did not follow yet. I got out and used a paint pen I keep for field marks. I marked the asphalt where the last footfalls had landed. A line of white crosses along a country road. It would look to anyone else like mean graffiti. To me, it felt like a prayer against what was coming. I slept in my clothes. In the shallow sleep that followed, I saw arms thrown back against darkness, and a line of blood that ran along a road with no end. It was a string, and tied to something at the center of the dark. In the morning, I woke to the sound of a vacuum in the motel hall, and for a moment I thought it was teeth being sanded. I stood in the shower and let the water run until it scalded. The burn was proof that my body still answered. Back at the sheriff's office, we laid out the maps on the table. Lyle called in his deputy. She was Rose Keegan. She was 10 years younger than I am. Her eyes held a hunger for the work that I may once have had but could not find. She had a new notebook and a pen that clicked with a sound like a small weapon being cocked. She made a copy of my clip. She pushed her laptop across the scarred wood. "I slowed this down," she said. "Watch their shoulders." We watched the gray phantoms run their course. The children's shoulders did not move to pump momentum. The shoulders were held back until the blades pressed against the fabric of their shirts. Their arms were not for balance. They were held as if anchored while the bodies were dragged forward. "It's like they're falling off the front of themselves," I said. "It's like something has them by the sternum," Rose said. She looked as if she regretted saying it. "I'm sorry. That sounds foolish." "It does not sound foolish," I said. "I understand." She nodded as if the permission helped. Lyle stood at the county map on the wall. "They always go west," he said. He pressed a thumb into the paper where the road bled out into gravel. "They vanish here. We've walked it over and over. I could trace that path with my eyes closed. The dogs go dumb. They whine, they piss, they shit." "What about cameras further out?" I said. "Doorbells take them as far as Maple and Hickory," Rose said. "We have 4 angles. It's the same each time. After that, nothing. People out there keep their money in jars, and their privacy set in cement." I met the elementary school teacher at lunch. Her name was Miss Ahmed. She had a face that had weathered 20 years of small truths from children and large lies from adults. She slid a stack of drawings across her desk. I smiled, and then the smile left me. On every page there was a circle in the corner. It was not a sun or moon. It was a circle with a wedge missing. "This was last week's art," Miss Ahmed said. "We told them to draw where they go after school. A lot of kids drew swings. Some drew the gas station, which is liked for reasons I cannot explain. This shape kept showing up." "What do they say it is?" "They do not say," she said. "They shrug. One boy said it was a mouth, and then he laughed because he knew it was not a mouth. Then he stopped laughing." "Did anyone mention anything else?" "They mentioned a hum," she said. "I told a girl she might be hearing the substation. She looked at me as if I had said there were wolves in the classroom. I felt foolish." In the school lot, poplar flush drifted like ash. I called the parents again. I asked about fevers and medications, late-night watchers who drove by on the roads. My phone rang in my hand while I was holding it. A local number I did not know. It was a child's voice. It sounded like air pushed through a dry reed. "Detective Wren?" the voice said. "Who is this?" I said. "Hurry," the voice said. "The last one is left behind. The last one is left." The line went dead. I called the number back and heard a phone ringing inside the sheriff's office. Lyle held the desk receiver away from his face like a snake. His eyes were flat. "What are you doing?" he said. "Did your phone dial out?" "It rang once," he said. "Then it dialed by itself. I am not a fearful man, Wren. I do not scare easy. I do not like this." The cold thread in my chest tightened. We went out into the night. Rose drove with the windows down. The air smelled of cut grass and of a sweetness below that was rot. We killed the engine where the road gave out and let the car roll in silence. We stepped out. The the sound was there. The hum threaded straight through the quiet and into the meat of the mind. "Wait," Rose said. "Please listen. Did you hear that?" The hum had a texture in it. Little sounds nested within it like bad eggs. A voice hid in the white noise like the static drift of a radio that only speaks when you pass beneath a bridge. I heard a child's voice woven in it, and something deeper that put the taste of pennies on my tongue. I moved a step and the tone shifted. I moved again and it shifted again. The direction was a lie. It came from everywhere and from one specific place that was not a place. The dark space between 3 birch trunks that stood like ribs torn up from the earth. Then I saw them. There were 4 children this time. I saw Ellie. The boy with the bloody leg was not among them. The 4 came straight out of the woods and crossed the road. Their arms were still locked behind them. I stood in Ellie's path and he ran around me without looking. Rose breathed a word that was part prayer and part curse. She reached for the small form with the care you use in a dark hallway when you do not want to frighten someone you love. The child's breath came in a cloud of cold that touched Rose's throat, and she recoiled and caught herself and set her feet again. "Look at me," I said. "Please, look at me." They did not. They ran west and were gone. We followed to the line of trees, and that hum grew until it was not a sound, but a thing you felt inside you. I stopped. Something snapped a branch at the level of my face, though no branch moved. We stood on the edge and listened to our lungs. I turned my head, and when I looked back, it seemed as if the trees had come closer by the width of a thumb. "Did you feel that?" Rose said. Her hand was on my arm. Her other hand was on the butt of her pistol, and we both knew it would do no good against noise. "I feel it," I said. "Back out. Take it slow." We stepped backward. The hum receded, and the insects began again, and with them my own heart. The gravel made an old sound under my boots. On the shoulder lay a dark smear. I knelt. I wanted it to be oil. It was not oil. I touched it and I smelled my finger. "It's blood," I said. "It's fresh." "We have to go in," Rose said. Her voice was steady. "We're going to have to go in, and we need to be smart." "Yes," I said. "We will not go empty-handed." We drove stakes into the soft shoulder by the blood. We would come back with rope. We would come back with light. We would come back with names. The man at the hardware store did not ask questions. I bought 100 feet of climbing rope and a handful of screw-gate carabiners. I bought bright survey tape and 3 flares for a county with flat roads. "Are you going to try to tie up a tornado?" he said. "If it gets this far," I said. We did not sleep so much as we passed out and woke up. The sheriff called for volunteers with dogs trained to track. At the edge of the trees, the dogs stopped. They whined a thin whine. They lay down and shivered in waves, as if the hair on their backs wanted to flee the skin. We went in at dusk when the sky looked like a new bruise. I tied the rope to a maple as thick as a refrigerator, looped it twice, and clipped myself in. Rose clipped in behind me. Lyle made a loop at his waist, and none of us laughed at his knots. "Do you hear it?" I said. "I hear it," Rose said. Her eyes in the fading light would not hold still. The tone is lower now. We stepped past the line. The rope trailed behind us, heavy as a serpent. I tied survey tape to branches, and the orange looked obscene against the green. The wood smelled of wet earth and iron. The leaves were a dark, cramped green that pushed into my face like pressure. I marked the trunks with chalk. The chalk made a white idiot scrawl. My hand trembled, but I did not know if it was me or the tone in my jaw. "Why children?" Lyle said. His voice came out too soft. "Why not fish? Why not something else?" The sound of his voice did not carry in any normal way. It felt swallowed and then returned in pieces. The last words came back in 3 faint echoes. Something else. Something else. Something else. We followed a path our feet knew before our eyes recognized it. The ground had been walked not by a mob, but by many careful passings. I found the print of a small sneaker, and beside it the weave of a sock in the mud where a shoe had been left behind. The path sloped into a hollow. You know a bowl in the earth when you enter one. Your hearing changes. The trees lean away as the ground gives. In the center of the hollow was a black place. It had no reflection. It did not read as water at first. Then a tremor passed across it, and my stomach answered before my eyes could. It was water. If it had ever held a sky, it did not hold one now. They stood on the far bank in a line. Eli was there. Marie with 2 crooked braids. Tucker with a bruised knee. 2 more faces I knew from pale copies. Their arms no longer held behind them. Their arms hung by their sides. And this seemed worse, because it made the moment ordinary. "Eli?" I said. My voice went into the hollow and came back in a dented echo. "Do not take a step into that," Rose said. Her whisper was fierce. "That is wet clay. It will take you to your knees with one step." "I know," I said. The hum had dropped away. A lower note lived there now. Then a voice shaped itself into the shape of silence. It sounded like a grandmother who had never been near a child.
"I am older than this,"
it said. It did not use sound. It spoke by causing birds to fall quiet, and by raising the hairs at the back of the neck.
"You give them to me every night. You place them in rows. You teach them to rise when they are called."
"Do not speak to it," Lyle said. "Who should I speak to then?" I said. I raised my hand. "Eli, can you see me? Can you hear me? Please look at me. Hold my eyes." His eyes lifted as if with a great weight on them. When his gaze met mine, it passed through me. He opened his mouth and his lips were the color of lead. Cold breath left him in a little cloud. "We are almost there," he said. He was not speaking to me. He was saying it to himself. "Where is there?" I said. "Tell me what you see." Marie spoke. Her voice sounded like dry paper rubbed together. "Home," she said. "I mean, my other home."
"That is right,"
said the trees. Or I made them say it. Or it was my memory of how wind in a tree can sound if you want it to speak.
"It is not pain. It is the place behind your eyes when the itch comes, and you cannot sleep. Come across. walk backward everywhere else and fall, I will lift you. I will put you down in the place where the noise stops.
Ren, Rose said. Her voice was close. We have to get them away from that black water. I stepped forward and the mud took me. In a breath, it held me to the shin and then to the knee. The rope went hard behind me. Rose took my weight and sat back into the harness. I could have loved her, that simple thing. The shape in the hollow pulled itself into a greater height, or else the trees leaned down to frame it. There was the suggestion of a head and shoulders in the negative space, and it did not look like any creature that belongs to our names. The air around it grew so cold my teeth ached. You need to let them go, I said. My voice sounded foolish.
They are not yours in any of the places where they cry. They come when the door opens and when the bell rings. You will say that I took them. I did not take them. I call and they obey. You taught them obedience until they slide.
Lyle breathed fast behind me. What is it saying? He said. It is trying to sound reasonable, I said. Do not let it. Marie's left foot slid forward, and the mud closed on it. She wavered. She put out her hands. The rope jerked as Rose leaned back with all her weight. I took another step. Ellie stared at the water the way a man looks at a drop when he has decided to jump. I know that voice, I said to Ellie. I know the voice that tells you the easy way. There is no easy way here. Ellie, if you step, I will come after you, and I am heavier, and I will take us both down. And your mother will kill me, and I will deserve it. He blinked. The water breathed toward my thighs. Give me their names, Rose said. She spoke without looking away from the rope. I gave her the names, and she said their names aloud. She filled the hollow with sounds that did not belong to the hum. She said the names the way you call a dog that does not know you belong to it yet. She said the names as if each name was the best word she knew. Ellie, Marie, Tucker. Something that looked like a hand swept across the far bank. A ring of woven grass with a ribbon tied to it fell from the branches. It landed near my hand. Gifts or garbage. There was no difference that I could see.
Elsewhere,
It said. The word tied a knot in my gut.
elsewhere is what your grandmother said when she was dying, and she did not know a word to clothe it. Elsewhere is not cold and not hot, and it has no sound. They are tired of sound. Do not put them in rows. Do not put numbers in their mouths. Do not teach them to move together and then blame me for calling them.
You do not get to use them as an experiment, I said. I could not feel my feet. The cold had climbed to my thighs. You call them, and I understand why. You do not get them. That is the rule.
It is the way you have kept the rule,
the voice said with the weary weight of history. It did not sound angry. It sounded tired.
Tonight, if you wrench them back, wrench them. The door is open. The hinges sing. It will open again.
Go to hell, I said. I did not say it calmly. I shouted it, and Rose flinched and Lyle swore. I lunged and took Tucker by the wrist. The cold in his skin sank into my bones. He turned, and his face was the face of a man who had known me for 50 years. He let out a long breath, like a diver breaking the surface. I pulled. The mud made a sound I do not want to name. Rose hauled the rope. Lyle dug in his heels. We moved an inch. The shape shifted and the air fell in temperature, the way freezer air falls out into summer. Go the other way, Tucker, I said. Take the rope in your free hand and go the other way. He took the line. His knuckles scraped and he did not complain. Children do not complain because they learn not to. Marie reached. Her eyes did not leave the black. Her lip shook. The water licked her shoe. I took her hand and held both of them, and felt nothing in my own fingers. Ellie shook his head slowly. He took a step toward the water. Rose said his name, and her voice cut through the air. Ellie, she said. He looked at Tucker. He looked at Marie. Something inside him shifted. He took a step back. The mud held him and then released him with a sound like something pulled from a socket. He fell. Rose had a hand for him. She hauled him in and set her feet like a sailor, and we started to move. We moved backward, and the water came to the lip, but went no further. When we crossed the rim, the tone returned, high and hard with anger.
I am a utility,
it said.
I am a kindness. You never give me the old. You never give me the sick. You send me the bright ones, polished smooth. The ones who know how to go when they are called. I will not thank you again.
I do not require your thanks, I said. I was not brave. I was shaking with the cold and with anger, and with a relief that hurt. We did not run. We walked backward as if the ground could only be trusted if we watched it. When the rope went slack, we unbuckled. The dogs were barking in the distance. They were singing our names. We came out under a sky that was turning pink. We did not stop to throw up or to pray. We put the children in the sheriff's vehicle and we drove them into town. People came out in their bare feet and their thin shirts. Lydia Monroe ran a whole block, and then took 2 breaths and made a sound that I will hear in the last minute of my life. She touched her son's hair as if afraid of how it might feel. Do not send them home tonight, I said to Lyle. Do not put them in their rooms alone. Put them in the gym under lights. It does not matter how it looks. Please do it. He nodded. His face was white. He did it. The town brought quilts and lamps. The lamps hummed with a common electricity. The children slept in a loose pile on the gym floor like puppies. Adults sat with them, and the great room held the noise of human breathing. We thought we had made a plan. We were wrong about the nature of the plan, but not as wrong as I had feared. 9 children slept on the gym floor. 4 we had pulled from the mud. 5 others had been found in the dark on the edges of town and brought in. They slept with the complete sleep of the young. The hum was still there. It was faint, like a mosquito high in the rafters. Every adult's eyes were bruised with a lack of sleep. Only the rescued slept without turning. "I don't like this," Rose said. "Feels like we put them all in one basket and hung it up for someone to take." "We keep them where we can see them," I said. At 2 a.m, the lights flickered once. The power strips buzzed like bees in a jar. The pitch of the hum shifted with the buzz. Space heaters clicked off and the children stirred. "Get the generator," Lyle said, and the lights came back with a hard surge. "All right," Rose said to the open air. "We are all right. We can handle this." We were not all right. At 3:30, Marie sat up. She slid her arms behind her back in a long stretch. Her eyes were closed. Then they opened. They did not see. She stood. Ellie stood. Tucker stood. They all stood as one. The hum formed a tight cord that stripped other sounds out of the room. "No," I said. I said it loud on purpose. "No, please stop. Listen to me." They began to walk. They did not run. They moved like people called to an appointment they cannot miss. Their arms went back. Their shadows trailed like ropes. "Sweetheart," I said to Marie. I stood between her and the door. "You're safe. Please, look at me. There's nothing outside that you need. You are here." I set my palm on her shoulder. Her shoulder was cold enough to burn. "Call for backup," Lyle said into his radio. The radio was dead. It made no sound. "Open the doors," I said. "Why would we open them?" he said. "If they're gonna run, they'll run," I said. "If we make a bottleneck, they'll break it, and they'll trample someone. We'll keep pace and we'll take them back before the trees." It sounded foolish, but it was the only plan left to us. Lyle threw the heavy latches. The night air came in. "Rose," I said, "play the recording." She pulled her phone. Her hands shook, but she found the file. The hum from the woods came thin and tiny through her phone speakers. It was wrong. The wrongness made my eyes water. The children flinched. "Do it again," I said. "Raise it and drop it. Scramble them. Do it again." She did it. She slid the sound up and down. It bit and fell back and bit again. The children's stride faltered. Ellie shook his head as if someone had him by the hair and then let go. "Say their names," I said. We called names like school on a bad day. We said them until their shapes were right in our mouths. Ellie, Marie, Tucker, June, Dan, Ava. The tone seemed to hate the noise we made. It felt like a foolish idea to think a sound can hate, but it felt true. They moved faster. We ran. We ran out onto the blacktop, across paint lines from the games of children. We ran across the ball field and into the street. The town was lit like a stage, with street lights and porch lights and halogen work lights somebody had dragged out. The children passed through the cones of light like a school of silver fish. A small girl named Ava had a thin line of blood at her hairline. It broke and slid down past her eye. She did not blink. I reached for her and touched only air. "Move," I said, and we moved. People watched from doorways and windows like a crowd on a bridge. No one knew whether they should look away or not. We hit the gravel and the road narrowed. The tone was not everywhere now. It came from one place. It lay ahead and to the left. I had tied the line around my waist back in the gym as a superstition. Superstition became useful. Rose clipped in. We trusted our feet. The children found the path as if the path remembered them. The trees drew into a chasm and we went down. There was no time for ritual. The hollow was blacker than the night around it. The water in it did not ripple outward. It rippled inward like a mouth. "Ava," I said, "look at my hand. Please, look exactly at my hand." The voice came from the trees, and this time, it carried the easy cadence of a small-town principal laying out rules.
Bring them. You want to sleep? You want to be done arranging your little lines? You want to stop pretending that what you do matters? Bring them, and I will take them to where the story is finished, and they do not starve for sense.
"You want them because they still believe in directions," I said. "Do not think I do not know that trick. I have used that trick. The answer is no."
They love it when they line up,
the voice said, and it used my tone to say it.
You love it when they move and are quiet. You hate the noise and the mess. And you do not know what to do when the world hurts.
I should have let it pass. Instead, I said, "Get out of my head." The sound that came back was a clinking, as of a spoon on the rim of a glass. We had brought no salt. We had brought none of the old rules. We had brought ropes and our names and their names. It was enough because they were enough. I took Ava. Rose took Ellie. Lyle threw the long end of the line like a sash around Marie, and he crushed her to him and walked backward. We fell into a pattern. On the far side, a shadow swept the ground. It lifted dirt and leaves, and the scraps of a childhood no one had noticed, and blew them in our faces. The grit stung. The tone cut. My sleeve was wet, and with nothing that came from the pool. We were crying. All of us cried who had not cried in public in 10 years. "The rope," I said. "I need the rope." We made a chain of the rope and our bodies. We tied it to a stump. We threaded it through our belts and around their small ribs. We pulled and dragged, and we left skin on bark. I do not remember the 10 seconds that came next. I remember that Tucker slipped and scraped his foot on the black water, and he screamed. We had not heard him make a sound until that moment. "Good," I said like a madman. "That is the right noise to make. Keep yelling. Please, yell for me." He yelled. They all yelled. I had not known that the sound of a child crying out could be a weapon. The tone bucked against it. We stole a foot of ground and then another. We reached the lip. We fell backwards over it in a heap. Rose laughed the laugh of someone who thought she understood gravity for the first time. We lay there a long moment with our legs bleeding, and we did not go back. Behind us, the sound stopped. It stopped long enough for us to count our breaths. Then it returned, thin and patient. We ran and we did not talk. The children's arms came forward and hung at their sides. I believed in that miracle and in no other. The dogs met us at the trees and then backed away, ashamed of their arrival. Inside the hospital, the nurses wrapped them warm and asked soft questions. Parents came and did not apologize for their tears. Eli put his hands on his mother's face as if she were the child and he was the one who had returned to her. I hated the sight of that reversal and I loved it. I had lost my composure and I did not care. Rose put a hand on my shoulder and said near my ear, as if she were ashamed to be kind, "You did a good job." The phrase fits poorly on the world, but hearing it then made my throat burn in a way the tone had not. For 36 hours, Birchlow smiled. The gym was cleaned. Parents slept on hospital floors beside their children. A church brought sandwiches. Lyle went on local radio and said, "We brought them back." He did not say how or why. He said only that it was done. Rose slept on the sheriff's office couch like a cat. I went to the motel and stood in the shower until I could tell hot from cold again. On the second morning, I woke from 2 hours with my heart hammering. I thought I heard the tone. It was the air conditioner. Your brain makes a sound for you after it has heard that sound for too long. I opened the blinds. The morning looked like a bleached orange shirt. Dew rose from the yards. A cat sat in the street like an omen. A boy ran by. He ran alone. His arms were held straight behind him. His head was pitched forward and his mouth hung open. The soles of his feet slapped the tar. A line of blood ran down his leg. It was not Dan. It could not have been Dan. It could have been the one child who was all children. He ran west. He did not look at me. He breathed like someone pulled through a hole that is too small. "Hey," I said. I said it too softly for anyone to hear. I put my hand to the glass. The boy turned a corner and was gone. I could not hear the tone. I did not need to hear it. I set the coffee down. I put on my boots and I did not lace them. I took my rope. I spoke to the ugly room and to the ugly painting of a lighthouse bolted over the bed. "All right," I said. Outside, the town had gone back to its old self. A man watered his lawn. A woman buckled a child into a car seat and kissed the child's forehead. I wanted to tell her to wrap the child in quilts and to hum the wrong notes until daylight, but I did not say anything. The boy's footsteps made little dark ellipses in the dew. Seeing them hurt. The line of blood along the asphalt pointed west. A bright orange ribbon I tied to the maple at the edge of the woods still hung. In daylight, it looked stupid. The hum did not come. The woods stood as if bored by their own work. A crow called to a crow. I stepped into the trees. "Names," I said to myself. "Give me the names." I said my own name to the trees. I said, "Wren." The word went out and came back. It was only a name. It held no power, but it was what I had. I carried my rope, my chalk, and my empty hands into a woods that had already learned me. Become a channel member today for early access, bonus videos, and special emojis only available to members. Check out the description below or click the join button for more info.
If you'd like another way to help support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon page at patreon.com/JordanGroupeHorror. As a patron, you'll get access to bonus videos and content. You'll be credited at the end of every video going forward, and if you decide to stay for 3 months, I'll name a character after you, which will be featured in a Hollow's End story. Links to join the Patreon are in the description. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help the channel continue to grow. And see you again next time at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you have a great night.